What's going on, everyone? It's Bales, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Trade Talk. It's Wednesday, so we'll get through all of the popular ins and outs coaches are making ahead of round 10, because I tell you what, it's quite a difficult week for trades. I still don't exactly know what I'm doing, so I'll go through what my thoughts are at the end, but because we'll go through the popular ins and outs, and I'll go through my top 5 targets for this week. But there's going to be hard this week because, yeah, it's a tough week for trading. So let's get stuck into the popular ins and outs coaches are making this week. So Harry Sharp is at the top of the list, 8.2k coaches are looking at bringing him in. So the last few weeks we've had the top trading targets being near 20,000, like Drury was a lot last week, the week before Chincotta was a lot. So, but this week, 8.2k for the most trading players, not a lot. So Harry Sharp, so he has obviously been a couple of years in the system. Has come for the last 2 games, scored a 56, and I believe it was it 70 last week he had? It was a good score. Got a hair mile, which is fantastic. As we wait for Harry Sharp to pop up on the screen. 290k. Yeah, 70 last week. So he's a good option. I'm just worried that when Daniel Rich comes back in, he will be out of the side, because I know he's got a -7 break even. But if you bring him in this week, Rich comes back in next week, or potentially even this week. I don't know if Harry Sharp will get dropped this week, but if he gets dropped next week or the week after, you've paid near 300k for a guy that's not going to be playing much. Whereas I think there are other rookie options that are either a little bit more expensive than him, or maybe even a little bit cheaper that may be better options than him. So he's in a weird spot, but people see the break even, which I know is good. -7, it's the only negative break even in the game at this current time. So I definitely see the appeal, but I'm just not sold on him being an option for us that can really get us through past the buys. Josh Fay's next, 3k coach are jumping on him, probably hopeful that he gets a debut. Hopefully he does, because St Kilda first up would be a pretty good matchup, and there could be a spot on a wing for him. Angwin's playing pretty okay footy at the moment in GWS's first, their best team. So I'm not sure if Fay cracks in yet. He had a good game on the weekend, I believe, as well. So yeah, it's going to be tough to see him get in, but 3 coaches are jumping on him. Again, if he plays this weekend, I think he could be a good option. 200k, we've seen his name being touted for a while, so he could be an option. I'm just getting his game up here on my phone. So last week, Fay had 26 disposals, 5 marks, 4 tackles, 102 fantasy points. So he could potentially be an option for us, but we obviously have to see him get a debut first. Bailey Humphrey. Now, this is a very interesting one. So 2,500 coaches are jumping on him, and I like it. I know he comes at a more expensive price of 360,000, break even of 3, but it's the last 2 games that have impressed me. So he got 66 against Melbourne with 75% game time, then 67% game time for a 94. He had a few CBAs on the weekend as well, so Stewie G's playing him more in the CBAs than a Fiorini, for example. And I think you can put the 0 down to a little bit of a mulligan, potentially. He wasn't playing the role in these games. He was playing very much predominantly forward, but now he's getting up the ground, getting involved. Maybe does that come down to these two have been easy games? I'm not sure, but got the Rising Star Award nomination this week. He's going to get a lot of confidence from that, plus the way he played on the weekend. I think he's a pretty good option to bring in. He's got that round 13 buy as well, which could be really handy. He's that mid-forward. You might need him through those buys. So I like it. I'm potentially considering a guy like him this week, based purely on the fact he's got that buy and he's shown that he can score and he's got a ceiling. So in the buy rounds, obviously it's best 18, but if he goes and pops a 90, that's going to be really handy. So yeah, he's definitely on my watch list. Errol Goulden, 2.2k coach to bringing him in. It's funny because you can look at this on 2 ways. On one way, he's now over 900k. He's so expensive. Is he going to continue what he's been doing the last 2 weeks with the 150 and the 160? So is he value? Based on the last couple of weeks, he is. But I don't know if he's going to crack that every week. So yeah. And then on the other hand, he's got this ceiling. Callum Mills is not going to be there till at least post-buy. He's got a few games without him. So that's could be some ceiling games there with him playing midfield. And North Melbourne this week, under the roof at Marvel. No Callum Mills. He could be a really good option, even though you're paying a little bit more for him. And if he fits your buy structure as well, he could be a sneaky good option to bring in. I know a few coaches have got him, but a few coaches that don't have him are jumping on him. So I don't mind him as an option. He's expensive, but I think you can certainly pay up for him and hopefully reap the rewards this week as a potential VC option. Rory Atkins is next. 2K coach is bringing him in. I was saying last week was probably the last week to get him. He had a good week last week with a 75. Played pretty well in the second half as well. Got about 50-odd points. I think he was on 23 at half-time. The game just didn't really suit him, but he used the ball well whenever he got it. 94% disposal efficiency. I know a few of them were obviously a few chip ones, but there were a few kicks where he's sort of streaming through the middle and was able to hit up a target. So, I don't mind paying up for him because there's no rookies available. He's 504k, break even of 17. He's still got money to make. He's shown a good ceiling, good ceiling of games with 75 being his lowest score. So again, because there's no rookies, I'd be happy to pay up for a guy like him based on that. So who have we got now? Zach Butters, 1.6k, bringing him in. Yep, I don't mind it. He's not as much value as what he was a few weeks ago, but we've seen his last two games being a 110 and a 118, I want to say. Yeah, 111 and 118. So yeah, he's been playing really well. Still value, and I still don't mind if it fits your buy structure. Ollie Lord's next, 1.5k coach to bring him in. I'm not as keen. He's just going to be a really slow burn. Is he going to stay in the team? I know, obviously, we don't know exactly how long Charlie Dixon's out for, but 243k, scored 50 last week. I just don't see there being a ceiling there for him, so I could see him being a red dot in a couple of weeks and him only earning about another 20, 30k. So I personally wouldn't go for an Ollie Lord. I would look at other options. Seamus Mitchell, 1.4k coach, to jumping on him again. Very similar to Bailey Humphrey. I don't mind this play. Again, he's in my options this week. Break even at 8, but had a good game last week, scoring 95. And then he got 50 for the week before. And I don't know why he got subbed out in that game here. But he's shown a pretty safe floor in terms of scoring. So good matchup this week against West Coast. And that's down at Utah's. I know that West Coast are hard for defenders. But I think in a game like Hawthorn versus West Coast, I think that Hawthorn defenders will actually do a bit better than what we've seen other defenders do. So I don't mind paying up for him again. 414k, he's going to be there for us in the buys. Round 14 could be a handy buy for him as well because you can trade him, Pedler and Jinby at round 14. So yeah, I don't mind him and paying up a little bit more for him because this is a very different year where a lot of these rookies, we're not getting a lot of them, and some of them we are. They might come in for a game or two. They might get a vest. They might start in the vest. So we're having to pay up for some rookies at the moment. So I did it last week with Dylan Williams, and I'm pretty happy I did. I don't believe he was named on their injury report either, which is a good sign. I'm actually just going to get that up as well. And I'll probably get up the Dixon thing and see if there's anything to do with Dixon. But yeah, paying up for some of these rookies is not a bad idea because they are going to make more cash. And yeah, so I'm just getting out here. So Dixon's a test, and Dylan Williams is not listed on here as the injury report. So that's good news for Dylan Williams. So he should stay in the side and play this week. Kane Baldwin's next, 1.3k coach again. I know he got a 64 last week, but I think he was playing key defensive role from memory. 64, what do you have? 13 disposals, 5 marks, 4 tackles, 278k. For me, it's a no. I'm just not as keen on him. I know a few coaches are jumping on him, but yeah, I'm not as keen. James Cheetahs, you couldn't jump on him because he's been the sub the last 2 weeks. Again, he's got a break in of 50, so if he did get a full game, you can watch him, see how he goes, and you can jump on him. But I'd want to be seeing a game first of him before jumping on. Lockie Whitfield. Now, this is, I think he's an amazing target this week, and he'll be in my top 5. He's a great target. Obviously, the news Isaac Cumming will be out post his bye, which is in round 15. He will be the main distributor back there, Lockie Whitfield. And also that brings in another guy that I'll talk about in a sec as well. Whitfield put up a 130 against the Bulldogs, a 105 last week in a difficult matchup against Collingwood. He now comes up against St Kilda in a very easy matchup for defenders. He's then got Geelong the week after, which is obviously a little bit tougher. But if he's that main distributor guy, he's going to have a lot of kick-ins and he'll have a safe floor, obviously, barring any injury or anything like that. Then Richmond, North Melbourne, Freo to finish. That's a really, really good run. And then even post-bye, he's got Melbourne, Hawthorn, Adelaide, Gold Coast, Bulldogs again. So that's a really nice run for Lockie Whitfield. And with that sort of run, he's averaging 90, and that's with a 48 in there. I think if you take that away, he's averaging close to 95. And that has got to put him in the mix of the top 6 defender. And I got him in at 720 something 4 weeks ago. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to get him in. He's going to do me to the buys, and then I'll get rid of him after. But he potentially could be in the mix for top 6 defender. Again, I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but He's got a good role. Isaac Cumming being out, it is handy. So I'm just getting it up here. So 720 total points from 8 games. You take away 48 and you divide that by 7. He's averaging 96. So yeah, he's doing well. And obviously it's helped by the last 2 weeks, but yeah, I do like him as an option a lot this week. Bailey Smith, 1.2k coach. I like him if he fits your buy structure. Had CBAs last week. Until Shaw comes back, he'll get that midfield time, and he's underpriced for what we've seen him do. So I do like him. George Wardlaw will be the 1.2k coaches here bringing him in. I dare say if he does make his debut this week, he'll probably be the most traded-in player this week, if not top 2 or 3, just because people know what top 4 pick in the draft. I think is pick 4. I think Sheezer was 3. So, yeah, and I think if he comes in, he'll play a lot. So, again, I'd rather him over Harry Sharp. I think I'd rather if you can pay up for Bailey Humphrey, I'd rather get him. I'd rather get a Seamus Mitchell if you can afford even that, because those 3 guys have got job security. And that's obviously if George Wardlaw plays. They've all got job security, whereas I don't see Harry Sharp with much, especially with Daniel Rich come back. Walsh, people are jumping on, and same with Matty Rowell as well. So, yeah, Walsh is great if you can afford him. Matt Rowell, he works for buys, but that 142 does inflate his average. He's averaging 96. It inflates that a lot. He's been solid the last 5 weeks with 198, 110, 76, 142. So only that one poor score. So, yeah, he's 804. I'm not sure about bringing him in to your side this week. And we'll go to the most traded out players, and we'll go through the top 5 targets. So, Cade Chandler, most traded out, 6.7k. Yep, he's time to go for him. So, I'd be happy to jump off of Cade Chandler now. He's dropped a 47. Is it 47 or 41 last week? Because he got a 37 the week before. Yeah, so 37 week before, 41 last week. Then take out that 100 there, 106. He got 59.41. So 4 scores below 60 in his last 5. So he's got to go. If you've got him, he's going to start leaking cash now, break even to 70. So, yep, he's got to go. Hollands as well is another option you can get rid of. 4.3k are jumping off him at this stage. He's made his money, 525k. Break even to 47. Obviously, the last 3 games he did help him get that little second wind of cash gen. He was on track for another decent score of about that 70 to 80 range against the Bulldogs, but got subbed out. I'm not sure why. He's not a must trade out because he's still a safe rookie to play on field. But it's just this run of the next few games here of Collingwood, Sydney, Melbourne. I'm just a little bit nervous about that he's only going to get his 50s, and breaking to 47, he's not going to make much more cash unless he can drop a 70. So I'd be happy to move off of him. But again, if you're happy to keep him, you can do other moves, and there's other guys. I'd rather trade Chandler over Hollands, and I'd rather even trade a couple of these next guys over Hollands, but because he's 525k, I'd be happy to move him on because you can probably get him to a better player, so I'd be happy to move. Mateus Philippou, again, I'd be happy to move, 3.3k jumping off. He got a 52 last week. He's been okay of late, obviously the 49-31 here, but the 66-70, so only 2 bad-ish scores, but he's just not got a high ceiling. 432k, break into 51, averaging 52. It's time for him to go. Judd McVee, same thing, time for him to go. I don't even know what he got last week. 39. He started slowing down. Obviously, hasn't been a huge scorer anyway. He's made some good cash, nearly 200k, but I'd be happy to jump off him. And especially with the fact that Salem could be back in Melbourne's team this week. Alwyn David Jr., I jumped off him last week with him being the sub. He dropped, wow. Actually dropped like 26k, I think. Yeah, 26k, so I'm glad I did jump off him last week. But I'd be jumping off him if he's sub again. If he's a green dot, I guess you can keep. But the break even to 61 is really going to hinder any potential cash gen because I don't even think he's scored over that this year. Yeah, high score 58, and that was in round 1. That was against Hawthorn. So I'd be jumping off him as well if you can move him potentially to a Wardlaw. No, it doesn't make you cash, but if you can do another move on the other side, that's a good move because Wardlaw, if he does debut, will make cash. Or if you can go even to a Humphrey, if you can do something there. Fergus Green, yep, time to go. He's not in the team at the moment. He was dropped, so I'd be happy to move off him. Darcy Wilmot. So compared to the other guys, I know Wilmot's playing, but he's got the round 12 bye. He could be a handy guy to have in rounds 13, 14, 15 because he's going to play. He's in the Lions' best 22. So I'd be happy enough to hold. But again, if you can go him out, I still would be happy to move him on because he's not going to make that much more cash. Break even of 39. So yeah, I'd be happy to jump off Wilmot, but he's one that you could keep. Lockie Cowan, yep, he can go as well if he doesn't come back in. I actually kept him over on Davies. So if he does come back in, I'll be pretty happy. But it just depends. Does he maybe come in for a chin cotter? That's the worry there. So yeah, gonna have to keep an eye on Cowan if he does come back in. But yeah, if you can go him to Wardler again, or if you can go into another rookie that's playing, making cash, I'd be happy to do that. Callum Mills obviously has to go, unfortunately, for those coaches that either brought him in last week or the week before. 2.1k trading in Reading. I dare say that'll keep rising just as people make their trades as the week goes on. But yeah, he has got to go. 4 to 6 weeks he's been ruled out from the Swans. Jaden Hunt, 2.1k trading as well. Yeah, it is time for him to go. His break-even's up to in the 87 now with that 54 last week. He's at a nice price of 656, so you'll be able to get him up to someone pretty good. The one thing that would make me potentially want to keep him is that he's got a nice couple of matchups coming up in Hawthorn, Essendon, and then Collingwood's not great, but it is at Optus, and then he's got Adelaide at Adelaide Oval. So you could realistically keep him to his buy if you were happy to take a potential little cash hit and move on other rookies. But still, I just think it is time for him to go. His break-even is now higher than his average, and you can get him to someone good. So I'd be happy to move on. But if you've got other issues, he could be a hold. Alex Chincotta, obviously disappointing last week, 1.7k are trading him. It would just depend if he's named out or not. If he's dropped, I think he can go, because if he's dropped, when's he going to come back in? Round 15 buy. He's already made 197k, break even to 34. I'm hoping that he held his spot. I've been worried all week that he gets dropped, but he did have 3 pretty good games before this one of 370s, and he played well as well. And it was against Brisbane the week before. I know Carlton are losing, so I don't know what they changed exactly, but I'm hoping he holds his spot, and then he can hopefully put out another 70 again for us and make cash still. But if he were to get dropped, I think he could go, because he's at a decent enough price that you could go him down to a Wardlaw and make yourself 100k. If Faye gets done, you can make yourself nearly 200k. So yeah, he would be one. Or you can even go to a Humphrey, make yourself 30-odd K, and you're going to get guys making cash, or even a Seamus Mitchell's about 20k more, and you can move to him. So I don't mind that play either. Noah Long, people are jumping off again. I've heard from, I know Ryan Daniels put it out, West Coast have also said that he is potentially about to return. And if he does return, I wouldn't be trading. I'd be holding, just because why would you trade a green dot with a break even of 13? So I'd be holding if he does get named. Pedler, a lot of people trading. I don't know if I would trade him, to be honest. Again, if you can get him to a better player on field, I'd be happy to move him. But CBAs last week, which surprised me as a Crows supporter myself. I didn't see him getting CBAs, but he did. And they were before Rory Laird went off sub. And he looked good in there. I think I saw a stat last night. He had 6 CBAs and he had 3 clearances, which was very, very good. Score of 80, getting up the ground as well. Kicked a couple of goals, kicked 2 goals in each of his last 3 games as well. And he has only gone goalless in 1 game. His 2 scores, bad scores, that Carlton one, I remember he had a huge first quarter. I think he scored 0 points in the next 2 quarters and had a decent last quarter. And then Geelong, I knew that was going to be a tough game. But besides that, he's had a floor of 55. So as an on-field rookie, round 14 bye, which is handy because you can trade him at his bye. But again, that is a little bit of a long time to wait. But I don't know if I would be trading. But again, if you can get him up to a better player on field, I would be happy to move him to that player. But yeah, just a wait as well. And then people weren't moving off a Warple, McKenzie and a Phillips and guys like that, which I'd be happy to move off these guys. Warple maybe not as much, just because, then again, break even 85. He scored at 85 last week, 78 the week before. Again, he's got a decent run the next 2. I'd probably hold for one more for a fortnight, but unless you've got no issues and he's your biggest issue and you can go him to a big midfielder, that's obviously where you can trade him. So he would be a bit more team dependent, I think, to trade. But he is one that you could hold to his buy. He's got a round 14 buy. I think some coaches are struggling for premium / mid-priced options for round 14. We got a few rookie options in round 14, but it's those sort of premiums that we don't really have. So you could hold. So there you go. So they're the most trade in and out players. So I think my top 5 targets of the week, again, this is going to be really difficult to do because there are a few options that are quite good that coaches can consider. I just want to look at Lockie Ash because he was one that being out with St Kilda's went in a good run. Break in 53, last 3, 89, 102, 123, 62. Then you got an 83, 89, 99. He's been good. He's not the worst option at 720. I'll probably still rather Whitfield. And if he was in the 600s, he'd be interesting. But yeah, he's not a bad option. So my top 5 targets for the week. I think number 1, I think it's Lockie Whitfield for me. That the run mixed with the fact that Cummings now out post bye. the last 2 weeks, I think we've seen Whitfield return back to his old self, that gut running, getting plenty of touches, taking the kick outs, getting those little +6s, like running 50 metres to get that +6 and demanding the ball. I think he's going to start averaging very, very well over the next sort of month to 6 weeks and up to his bye. Even if he's not a top 6 defender, you're getting a guy that's making money and going the right direction. He's got a great run. He has the role now. The fact that Cumming will be out, so he'll take I think the kick-ins on the weekend. I think he had 7. Ash had 3. And I think Iden and Himmelberg had 1 each. So maybe if Himmelberg moves back there with Coming out, that could be someone, again, another guy that you could look at as an option to watch this week. But I just think Whitfield is the main guy back there. So I have him as my number 1 target this week. Number 2, again, it's really tough. I think it's Mitch Duncan. He wasn't talked about as the most traded in, but that round 13 bye, the fact that he has looked good the last 2 weeks with an 86 and a 109 in his last 2. He's got a decent run to his bye. I'm definitely looking to get him in before this round 12 match against the Dogs because I want him through the byes. Even if it's a 6-week play and you trade him out at this Sydney matchup here, or even somewhere in round 16, 17, 18, you can do that. But he's a good play for the buy, cheap price. I like his option, so I've got him at number 2. Number 3, again, this is where it's getting really tough to really pick options because there's some value options, there are rookie options. Number 3, geez, yeah, it's tough. Number 3. I guess if George Wardlaw gets named, he probably would go to number 3 for me, just because the job security is probably going to be there for him. And yeah, he's going to have a decent role, I think, in that midfield. So I'd have to have it number 3 just with job security. But it's not an exciting sell week 1 because we don't know exactly what his role is going to be and what his scoring potential is like. But I do think that his job security will be good and he could be an option. So I'll put him at number 3, but not really that confident in putting him there. Number 4, I do like Bailey Smith and Butters. I'll almost put them in the same basket. I'll put them both at number 4 as that underpriced forward if round 15 works for you. So like Butters there with the last 2 scores of 111 and 118 has looked good. He's got a still good run to come as well. And Bailey Smith with Trelaw has got that role. So I'd probably say those 2 for me are probably the next 2. So equal 4. And then at number 5, I think I'd probably, if Atkins holds his spot, do I say maybe him at number 5? Because it's tough. Humphrey's good as well. If you're looking at him, I'd like Jai Clark, who I didn't mention, the most traded in. But if he is into the best 22, he scored 35 points in just over a quarter. So good scoring in such a short space of time. Round 13 bye as well. And same with Bailey Humphrey. Seamus Mitchell's in that same basket. So, yeah, maybe at number 5, I'd probably put almost all those guys. I'd probably put your Humphrey, your Seamus Mitchell, your I said George Ward already. Yeah, your Mitchell, your Humphrey, your Jai Clark, if he's named in 22, and even Rory Atkins. I'll put Rory Atkins at number 5 just because he still presents the value, but those other guys as well are close because I think that they will play and score right. And even though you've got to pay up a little bit, I still like the idea of doing that. And then also Gordon also is a sneaky option if you don't have him. But a lot of coaches do have him. So my trades for the week, again, I've had so many different options. I don't like weeks like this. I prefer weeks where I know what I'm doing and I've got a decent idea, but I don't really know at this stage. To get Duncan, I need to go down to a Drury or a Fahey, and I'm not sold on doing that. And that's obviously going to Hollands up. So I'm not keen on that. So I think, again, it's going to be another week of just sort of getting stuff for cash gen to prepare for the buys, because I know I've got 4 rookies on field, but I feel if I can carry 2 or 3 to the buy, I can upgrade them through the buys and I'll come out the end of the buys. And I'd rather get my cash gen so I can actually go those rookies up instead of bringing in rookies going 1 down, 1 up like a Drury and getting a Duncan who's great. But then Drury, who knows what his scoring is going to be like. It's going to make cash. I'm not sure. So I guess I'll just say at this stage, my trades are Hollands to Humphrey, make a little bit of cash there, and then going a Lockie Cowan if he doesn't get named, or even a Chincotta if Cowan gets named, Chincotta gets dropped, to a George Wardlaw. They're probably the 2. Or no, it could be Seamus Mitchell as well, it could be Mitchell and Humphrey this week. Watch Wardlaw for a week. Bring Wardlaw in next week. That's probably what I'll do because Mitchell and Humphrey are going up in price. And obviously, Jai Clark for me, another option. So those 4 rookies, funny enough, are the ones I'm looking at. So I'm almost looking at a double cash grab this week. So interesting times. I don't know if I'll be able to get up. And then obviously, if Jack Steele is out this week, I'll have to move him on. I'm hoping he's not. It'd be good to get a couple of these rookies to make cash. But if he is out, I'll have to go him out, and it'll probably be to Jordan Dawson because I've wanted Dawson for a while. He's got that round 14 bye, which I need maybe a premium or two from that round 14 bye, so he'd be one I'd be looking at as well. And I have toyed with the fact maybe I could just go Darcy to Gawn for the buys just to make a bit of cash there. Darcy's been great, but I do think that's probably a low priority one, so I'm probably not as keen for that one this week. That might be happening next week. So that's what I'm doing. I'll let everyone know what my trades are. Obviously, post them on Twitter. We've got Twitter space with me and Tim, guest as usual, on the AFL Fantasy Fanatics with us normally an hour and a half before lockout on Friday night. We'll go live and we'll chat through all the options, all the talking points this week. We'll get a couple of coaches on to join us and go through a heap of listener questions. So make sure you tune into that, either on Twitter or on here. It'll be live on YouTube, so make sure you tune into that. But let me know in the comments below as well what you guys are doing your moves this week. It's a hard week for trades, so let me know what you guys are doing. If you've got any questions in terms of trades, let me know in the comments below and I'll get to those when I can. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do. Bottom right-hand corner. Appreciate the love and support over the last few weeks. We've gained really 63 subscribers really quickly. So, again, appreciate you guys as always. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed the content. Helps with all the YouTube algorithm and stuff like that. So, if you're enjoying it, click the like button just below. You're probably watching, so just click a like. Appreciate all the support. Turn notifications on so you don't miss when I go live or upload any other content in the future. All my social media links in the description below, so go follow me across the socials. As always, I'll be back Friday night for the live stream of the Twitter space, and then the watch along on Saturday night. So looking forward to those, but I'll catch you guys in the next video. So I'm out. Cheers.